Hello and welcome to an introduction to self-help myofascial release. Myofascial release is a powerful hands-on therapy and is particularly good for people who have chronic pain conditions. It is also something that people could do for themselves at home using self-help myofascial stretches and exercises. The first couple of videos I want to share with you are about what fascia is and why it's important, and then how myofascial restrictions form and how they can contribute to chronic pain. So let's talk a bit about fascia. Many people have never heard of it, but it is the main connective tissue in the body. And as such, fascia wraps around all the other structures in your body. So it wraps around your muscles, your nerves, your blood vessels, your bones and your organs, and it fills all the spaces in between. So it means that the whole of your body is one big three-dimensional network, everything being connected to everything else by those fascial connections. So when it's working normally, fascia is very fluid, as most of the water in your body is actually held in the fascia, and so it moves painlessly as we move. But what's fascia made of? So fascia is made of proteins and water. So there's two main proteins that it's made of. One is called collagen, which you may have heard of, and that is a protein that gives strength and structure to the body. And then the other protein is called elastin, and as the name suggests, it's stretchy and it allows movement in the body. And the third element is the water. So within fascia, water is important as a way of keeping the tissues fluid and mobile, but it's also a communication network within the body that works even quicker than the nervous system. So from a fascial perspective, there's lots of things about anatomy that you can turn on its head. So for example, in traditional anatomy, it's said that the skeleton in your body provides the structure and everything else hangs off this. But from a fascial perspective, it's the fascia that gives the structure in the body. If you were to take out all of the fascia from your body, then your skeleton would be nothing more than a pile of bones on the floor. And conversely, if you were to take everything else out of your body and just leave the fascia, you would be left with the perfect three-dimensional representation of yourself right down to your facial expression. So fascia is that important in your body. Now fascia has two main properties which are important to know about. These are called tensegrity and thixotropy. So we're going to look at tensegrity first. So I have here a tensegrity model. So tensegrity is a concept that comes from architecture, and it allows architects to build buildings and bridges that can self-support and that can move. So if you think about bridges that hold themselves up, or even tall buildings that can sway in the wind without falling down. So that's tensegrity. So this is a tensegrity model, and you can see that as I move it, it stays in perfect balance, even though the shape changes. And so in the body, if you imagine that these wooden struts here are your bones, and the elastic bits are the fascia, it's the fascia movement that allows the bones to move, but it allows everything to stay in perfect balance. And that's important, because from a fascial point of view, the body can stay balanced without any effort. And it's only when restrictions and problems start to form that your body has to work harder, and that's what can start to cause some of the pain that people experience. Another property that fascia has is called thixotropy. So this is a tub of corn flour and water, and it's a very good way of demonstrating what thixotropy really means. So if I tap this hard, the corn flour and water is really solid. And so that's the equivalent of you having an injury or an accident where your fascia starts to solidify and become stuck. However, if I rest my fingers on the corn flour and water, they will start to sink in. And that's how myofascial release helps to release the restrictions that can form in your fascia. So when you're working to do your exercises and stretches from this program, you'll find that you get that sense of release and softening as your fascia starts to let go. So when you're doing the exercises and stretches in this program, it's useful to remember these properties of tensegrity and thixotropy, because you'll start to feel them in action as the releases happen in your body. And as long as you're doing the exercises regularly, say for at least 15 minutes a day, you'll soon start to feel the benefits and stay living pain-free. So when your fascia is working normally, it's very fluid and it just moves freely as you move, so we don't notice it in our bodies. However, sometimes fascial restrictions can develop, and this is a bit like getting a snag in a jumper. And so you can feel pain or other symptoms where the snag is, or sometimes referred to elsewhere in your body. Some of the common causes of fascial restrictions are accidents and injury. So this can be major accidents, but for lots of people it can be minor things. So for example, tripping on a curb as you're walking along. So another cause of restrictions can be surgery and scar tissue. So this could be major surgery, but for lots of people, scars can develop as a result of injuries that they have day-to-day life. And scars over time can expand in your body, they grow out along lines of tension, and that can cause pain somewhere else, often many years after the original injury. Another cause of restrictions is repetitive movement. So this can be the repetitive movement of computer work, for example, and this is a combination of overuse and underuse. So overuse of your hands and your fingers as you're working, but underuse of the rest of your body as you sit still at the computer. Repetitive movement can also be sports, so for example running or swimming, which can also cause restrictions to form over time. Another cause of fascial restrictions is your posture. So everybody has natural posture, and over time this can develop into imbalances which can lead to pain and other symptoms forming. So another cause of restrictions can be stress. So this can be emotional or physical stress, and from your mind and body's point of view, there is no difference between the two. The result is that your fascia tightens and causes restrictions. So everyone's pain is caused by some combination of these factors, and the restriction pattern in your body is as unique as you are. And a way to release these restrictions is by doing myofascial self-help stretches and exercises. One of the ways in which people can do their own myofascial release is by using myofascial balls. And in this next video, we explain how to do that. So you can also work on your fascia using myofascial balls. So either a myofascial ball like this or a trigger point ball. For either of these, you can use them in lots of different areas in your body by either leaning against a wall or sitting on them or lying on them on the floor or on your bed. This ball, the myofascial ball, is a good size so that it gives a nice diffuse pressure to an area of your body, and it's very similar to the pressure you have in a myofascial release treatment. The ball is inflatable, so it means that it will give as you lie in it or lean against it, and also the air inside it can heat up. And the two things that fascia particularly likes are pressure and heat. So when you're using the ball, you'll find that initially you feel like you're just balancing on it, but then as the tissues start to release, you get a sense of things softening and letting go, almost like it's melting. Sometimes you can work using two balls together. If you do, we recommend that you use them together in a bag. So by having two balls in a bag like this means that they will stay together as you work with them. And so you can use these, for example, on the back of your neck or anywhere on your back. The myofascial trigger point ball is a smaller ball. It's a bit harder, but it's hollow, so it still has some give to it. You can use this to work on trigger points in your body. Trigger points are areas of your fascia and muscle that become restricted and form into knots, which can refer pain and other symptoms to elsewhere in your body. So the size of the trigger point ball means that you can work on very precise areas to help to release and undo those restrictions. Whichever of the balls you're using, make sure that you follow the fascial principles and always work for at least 2 minutes in one place to allow the tissues time to release. And we recommend that you work with the balls for about 15 minutes a day. So myofascial balls can be very useful in helping to release some of the restrictions that are causing pain and other symptoms. Here's a video which shows how to use them on your forearms. So in this exercise we're going to use a myofascial ball to release our forearms. So placing the ball on the desk, place your forearm on the ball and just allow it to rest there. And then you can slowly roll your forearm over the ball. And so you can work anywhere between your elbow and your wrist, and just waiting when you find areas that feel tight and sore, just waiting for those to release before moving on. So this is a great exercise to do for anybody who does a lot of computer work, because you use your forearm muscles a lot to move your fingers and they can get very tight and restricted. And you can also work on the other side of your forearm just by turning it over and again resting it on the ball. And you can just slowly roll your forearm over the ball anywhere between your elbow and your wrist, and just waiting for areas that feel tight and restricted to release. So this exercise you can do on both arms if you want, and when you do find areas that feel tight and sore, remembering just to wait there for a couple of minutes, which gives the fascia time to release and relax. In this next video, I'm going to share some stretches that are good for anybody who has frozen shoulder or shoulder impingements. So what is frozen shoulder and what can you do to help yourself if you've got it? Typical symptoms of frozen shoulder include restricted range of movement, constant deep aching, sleeplessness and sharp pain with sudden movement. Most people don't like moving their shoulder, but actually by doing gentle movement within your pain-free range of movement can help your shoulder. Here's a couple of exercises that can help. The first one is an arm dangle. So allowing your arm just to hang loosely, you can start to move it gently backwards and forwards, side to side, or even round in circles, staying within your pain-free range of movement. Another exercise is a finger crawl against a wall, placing your hand on the wall somewhere where it feels comfortable for your shoulder, and then crawling your fingers up the wall or to the sides, again staying within your pain-free range of movement. So frozen shoulder is actually a bit of a misnomer as a term. It was originally coined in the 1930s, but it doesn't mean that your shoulder is frozen or stuck. For most people, it's caused by fascial restrictions due to subconscious guarding, perhaps due to a previous injury or poor posture, or even emotional trauma. By regularly starting to move your shoulder within your pain-free range of movement, you can help to undo those restrictions and reduce your symptoms. So I hope these videos have been helpful in giving you a bit of a flavour about myofascial release and how it can be adapted as a self-help therapy for people at home.